Hello and welcome back to the worst War Machine channel on the internet. I'm Dorian, and this here is an extra video brought to you by one of our patrons. So at our top level, we have the Content Overlords. They actually get to pick a topic every single month that I cover, and this one comes to you from Darrell Duncan, who said, Dorian, I want you to cover 5 casters that are actually better in Brawlmachine than they are in regular 75-point games. So that's what I've done. I've made myself a little list, and we're going to quickly go through these. So the first one I'm going to cover here is actually from pretty much his favorite faction, I'm pretty sure, and this is going to be from Ossyan from Ret. So Lord Arcanist Ossyan, why do I think that this is better in Brawlmachine? Well, you do see this one here in 75 points sometimes. It's not currently so hot right now. There's some other hotnesses going on in Retribution. However, there's some very key things here I want to be pointing out. I mean, you have some things on here where, you know, it's a nice future sight caster and stuff like that, but you have some spells like admonition. Admonition being something that's good in 75, but is amazing in Brawlmachine when there's fewer models and it's harder to actually counter. Other nice things on here, like, okay, you got the Quicken on there, and you got the Fortune, making sure that things are going to be faster, hitting more likely. You have the Shatter Storm, so what this one really does is you hit something, and it kind of explodes in an AoE, so if somebody does take a unit or something, poof, you can make them explode very quickly. And then more importantly here is this feat, which says when an enemy model in Ossyan's control range makes a range attack damage roll, if it rolls 1 fewer dice, so it makes it harder for the enemy to shoot you. And then for their part, when a friendly faction model makes a range attack in its control range, you get an additional die on the roll. So really what this does here is when you're making your Brawlmachine list, you're able to go in, of course, take a lot of jacks that have guns, and luckily for Rat, pretty much everything has, like, it's always mixed, right? Has combat, has a gun. You get to basically walk in, get the alpha, pew pew pew, do some real damage, and then not only is it tough for them to shoot you because of the feat, but it's hard for them to get on you because of admonition. So this is something where, again, Ossyan can be good in 75, but I feel can really excel in the Brawlmachine size. So that's my choice number 1. Now, the second one that I want to go to here is now jumping over here to Khador, and it's going to be now the 3rd Sorcha. So this one here is, as I quickly find it, Commandant Sorcha Karkakov, I don't know how you say the last name. Now, Sorcha 1 is actually on the epic banned list because, hey, going in and just stationaring everything and then having a spell to stationary things again, that's pretty powerful. And so I kind of thought from that, like, oh, there must be other sources that would do well in Brawlmachine, right? And so I looked at Sorcha 2, didn't really impress me, but then I looked at Sorcha 3, and this one seems to be a little bit special. Now, you know, it has an okay weapon here, POW 16, so that's another nice thing here too. It was kind of the same thing for, like, Ossyan can do okay-ish, but Sorcha is a good choice here where it can actually do some work in combat if you needed. Also has a nice gun. The feat is where things really get nice though, because you get these clouds out there. You get D3 plus 3, 3-inch AoE clouds. And so these things can really make sure that you are now saying, okay, you can no longer see me. In regular 75-point games, these can sometimes not cover your entire army. You have, you know, more things like the objectives and stuff that's going to allow them to see through the clouds. This is something that says, okay, normally Khador is slow and I have to take the alpha, but when you can't see me because there's clouds, now I can really pressure you. Now, past this here, you have things like, it actually has Field Marshal flank mana war, so you can get things in the list where, like, you don't need to take a bunch of mana wars. If you just take, like, the one solo, boom, get in there, and then all of a sudden all your jacks have flank on it, that can be amazing. It itself can do some pretty good work, like I said. You have things on there like the Iron Flesh, you have the Stoke the Fires, and this one here can be fantastic, where it's like, hey, you have +2 speed for 1 focus. Yeah, sure, okay, go get them. Wind Rush for herself so that she can get out there and do a bunch of damage, or, you know, do damage and then jump back, whatever you need. And then you also have this one here with the Winter's Wrath. So what this here is a range 8 AoE 4, and it says models hit become stationary. And so this can be massive, because if you're seeing something like you know, an Archon or something like that you just can't deal with right now, or maybe there's like a unit of things you can catch in AoE, you're like, skadoosh, you're now stationary. Okay, I'm going to deal with these other things. So again, something where I saw people try to make Sorcha 3 in 75, and she's not bad, but she's not overly great. I feel with the things that you're seeing in here, you can really do a lot of powerful things in Brawlmachine that I think actually a lot of people aren't looking at yet, and could be really powerful. All right, next one here is going to be going to my good home here of Cygnar and talking about, you're going to think I was going to talk about Sturgis, but I'm not talking about Sturgis. I'm going to be talking about Darius. Now, I have a soft spot for Darius. It was one of the first casters I got for Warmachine when I was playing Cygnar. My brother's playing Karchev. I was like, I want a big robot. Turns out Darius isn't exactly a Karchev. However, when you're coming here again, going to Brawlmachine, this is a very powerful caster that can be doing work itself, right? If it comes down to it, needs to go out there and like take out that last heavy, Darius can get it done. But a big thing here is that feat again. The feat here that Darius and Halfjacks and his battle group currently in its control range completely repair a friendly warjack as long as it's in base to base. Now, when it's in a larger game, this can be really risky because your opponents can really bring to bear a lot of things onto a model and make sure like it's going to die. But in Brawlmachine, if you have like a Centurion that has either like Arcane Shield or he has his own armor spell Fortify, well, it's kind of easy to not be able to kill a Centurion. And if you don't, all right, boop, feet, and you're completely healed up. So this part here, again, can be massive in 75 points where like, oh boy, if you have a storm wall and you bring it down to one box and whoa, goes all the way back up. Sure, that can happen, but normally in 75, there's the resources to finish off those models, whereas in Brawlmachine, you don't. Also on top of this, you have things like where it has full throttle to hit, you have Jackhammer to really get the work on it, you have Refuge to hit and basically run after that, but it also has those half-jacks we're talking about. These are 3 free solos that you can use to run out and, you know, contest or score flags or just get in the way or make these bombs, which are turning into big like POW 14s, right? Like, go ahead, come here if you want, boom, I'll explode it. And I think, again, this is something where in the larger game, these half-jacks don't do as much, right? You have other solos that are better at doing things. The healing isn't as big as a deal. The bombs, you know, there's a lot more going on. But here in these smaller games, they're like, hey, look, I'm going to score this. And hell, maybe I'll just have another one go and make a bomb here. So sure, you can come here and you can kill my guy and go on this flag, but I'm going to explode you, make another free little half-jack, and go right back there next turn. So a lot of interesting things here, even just stuff like the crane, right? The fact that you can have the crane for their extra 2 wins threat. There's a lot of things on the card here that I really like. And so even though there's that soft spot that says like, okay, you can be playing this in your 75-point games, in 25, yeah, Darius is amazing. All right, so now that we're done with that, we're now going to be jumping over to Menoth, and we're going to be talking about Resnick 1. So again, Resnick 2 is banned because it's on a huge base, but if we're talking about High Executioner, oh boy, Servath Resnick, this one is not banned. Now, I used to actually see a lot of Resnick back in the day, back in Mark II. I have never seen it in Mark III ever. So why do I think it's actually going to be good here? Well, again, this is a model that can be doing work itself. I think it's one of those things where in 75, a caster that can do work itself is more something that you don't have come up, because if it actually goes up and try and do work, there's enough things they're killing back. But here in 25 points, hey, if I can get in there and kill a heavy, there might not be a heavy to actually even come back to me after. So if I can do this, that's amazing. You know, this is already talking about like a Mat 7 PAL 14. That's not the best unless you have Engine of Destruction to be making this even better. You know, you have things on here like you have the Brand of Heresy if you need to get the boosted attack and damage basically. You have the Ignite to be getting that there, the Hex Blast to be taking off any upkeeps, even Perdition where you can be like hurting something and moving other stuff. That's great. Witch Hound, can be another thing that can very easily come up, right? A lot of times people have little simple things where they don't even really think them as spells, right? They're just like, oh, this is a solo that has this ability that can be doing this. But if you look at it, no, that is actually a spell. It's very easy to trigger things like Witch Hound, where all of a sudden, oh, now somebody from your battle group gets to move 3 inches. Oh, that's a real problem. You know, like I thought I was out of threat, and now I'm definitely dead next turn. So that can be really fantastic. And then this feat here, enemy models current in Resnick's control range lose all focus and fury points, and while in Resnick's control range, enemy models cannot upkeep spells or be allocated focus, and those casting spells are lit on fire with a continuous fire effect. So this can be working for an assassination type thing, so that, okay, I can get on the caster, oh, but it's camping, I'll never kill it. Boom, pop my feet, it's no longer camping. Or even just saying like, hey, I'm going to do this. Now you don't have any of these upkeeps you can do. You can't allocate to these jacks, so go ahead. Your jacks can come up and make their little initial attack, but nothing else. And now because you didn't do anything, oh boy, now it's my turn and I'm taking you out. So this can be something that's good for assassination, good for attrition, and I haven't seen this being played around with in Brawlmachine at all. Sure, there could be some other things that are even better, but I mean, like, compared to 75, we're like, I don't know if this is really going to do it for you in 75. In the 25-point Brawlmachine, I see this as a real little, like, hidden gem that people should be looking at. All right, I get one more that I get to talk about. And my last one's going to be coming from Crix, and it's one of my favorite named ones because it's going to be Goreshade the Bastard. Now, Goreshade, again, back in Mark II, used to be very significant. You would see it quite often, and then now never. Again, like some of these other ones, I have never seen them in Mark III. And so, well, why is that? What does this guy even do? Well, again, does okay in combat by itself. You know, in this case, it's only a POW 14, nothing too big there to start off with, but there's some extra parts on here. We could be having like, okay, there's the Shadowmancer on here, where basically everything there, the models in his battle group get stealth and dark shroud. So then that POW 14 is really a POW 16, buffs up the other things too, also gives stealth. So if you're up against shooting, you can be getting up there. Has things like Hex Blast, again, to take out those upkeeps, Lamentation to make it harder for your opponent, and also things like Soulgate, which is basically being able to say, okay, here it is, remove a friendly trooper model in the spellcaster's control range from play and replace it with target Warjack in the spellcaster's battle group that if it's in his control range. The Warjack cannot activate this turn after being placed. So the main thing here is one of your jacks goes in, does some good work, and they're like, Soulgate, okay, little cheap thing, you can die. That jack's coming all the way back here, coming to safety. Now, here's the feat. This is the feat that used to always make it amazing, which is put a unit, and this would just be like the min unit, the leader in 5, of Bane Warriors into play. You just get them. Just make sure that all the models are completely within 3 inches of Goreshade. So again, this back in the day where you'd have like maybe like 2 heavies. People didn't really take a lot of heavies in Mark II. You'd pop this feat, the Banes would go in, kill a heavy, and having a feat that just says like your heavy dies, and if I have some way of knocking down your caster and getting these onto you, this could just be an assassination thing as well. But as we get up here, we're like, okay, now there's more Archons, there's a lot more things. You know, going up here to do this to kill one jack probably just means that you lose your caster. Not that great in a 75-point game. In a 25-point game, this is amazing, right? Go in there, pop this feat, get a free unit, they charge up there, probably just destroy a heavy, and then they're still there, right? They don't disappear after or anything like that. So now your opponent has to actually fight through these guys. You know, meanwhile, your jacks are there, able to like attack in. You're teleporting them back. This is another one that I think is a sleeper, as I'm not hearing very much about this at all in Brawlmachine, and I think it's actually very sneaky good. And again, you're going to catch a lot of people off guard because like Goreshade the Bastard, is that even a real model? I haven't even heard of that before, right? So there you go. There's 5 casters. There's a lot of them out there, right? These are the ones that first came to me when I was just kind of like going through the factions, where I tried looking for What's a caster that's bad that, it might actually would be really good here? But yeah, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. If you disagree with what I said, put it down below. If you feel you have a better one than what I said, put it down below. Otherwise, that's it for this one. Again, if you're like, I really wish I got to pick a topic, hey, check out the Patreon link down below. You could join up in many different levels. And that one there, yeah, every single month, you just get to pick what the topic is. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.